What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Uberkooledgarage. On this week's episode, we are hopping into the bug. Some very exciting things in this video are going on. I am ecstatic about how the bug is. I'm not going to give anything away too quick, but the car is amazing. We have brought it back into the garage, and we are starting to finish up body panels and getting everything kind of wrapped up and ready for the road. I have made a ton of progress on Ryan's car. Not quite enough for a full episode. By the time you guys are seeing this, I will be in Phoenix, Arizona, visiting family. So if any of my followers are in the Phoenix area, feel free to hit me up and I might be able to swing by and say hi. So let's go ahead and hop into this very exciting bug video. Hope you guys enjoy. After a while of trying to figure out where this big, huge water-to-air intercooler was going to go, I originally thought I was going to put it right where the catch can is. Changed my mind on that. This is actually right where the catch can was supposed to go, with those vents sticking up in the vent up here. But this kind of gets this out of the engine bay, so it'll get it away from heat a little bit more. As you guys saw, went ahead and heat taped the entire back and lower side of it. So the bottom side against the transmission is all heat taped, all set, ready to go. So I do need to make a bracket that sits inside the vent here that holds the top, and one that sits here on the bottom. So that worked out pretty good. I have put the highest point of the fill right here in the back, nice, easy, accessible. This vent here will get capped off. The cap that you saw me put on the other side, I'll end up putting a temperature probe in there. That way the computer can monitor temperatures for the water to air intercooler system. This line runs back and around down. You can see I have my aluminum pipes down here. I still have to bend them around just a little bit to get them where I need them to be, but those do line up nice and perfect right here. Once I adjust it, this one can go down and tag into it. So I got this part of the system pretty much wrapped up. Got a whole different garage setup going now. So the Gia and the Bug are both in the garage. Ended up swapping cars in the garage. That way I have a lot more room. So I'm going to end up moving those two bins back there. That way I can work on the front and the back of this car. The Bug is back in the garage. It's going to start raining and everything here shortly. So as much as I don't want to, there's no way that I can drive the Bug the way that it is. I mean, look at it. Everything's open. I got no hood, no headlights, no taillights, no rear fenders, no nothing. So, and it's going to start raining. So I'm not going to be able to drive this in the rain the way that it is. Otherwise, everything's just going to get soaked. So what I am going to do, as much as I don't want to, I am going to completely strip the car down during the winter. So probably a month or two, maybe 3. Get all of the chassis stuff completely done. And now that I know that the car drives fantastic, I have driven it a couple times just around the block. Everything functions the way that it needs to. The brakes are good, the suspension's good, the turning's good, all of that's good. I did forget to mention, I blew up my old blow-off valve. So, went ahead and ordered a 50 millimeter blow-off valve for it. Works absolutely fantastic. Got it all shimmed out. So that works and functions properly. I'm going to make mounts for the water-to-air intercooler system, the exhaust system. I didn't show you guys that. Just been super busy, so kind of just welded this together in an hour just to get the exhaust out of the rear window. And with the water-to-air intercooler system the way that it was, that exhaust pipe came out right here. So the water-to-air intercooler system stuff was in the way of the exhaust. So went ahead, routed an exhaust down out of the turbo, and then it loops down, comes down. I also have a little tiny resonator in there just to quiet it down, so if you guys noticed that in the video it wasn't extremely loud. And then went ahead and put in a screamer pipe. So this still needs a little bit of adjustment. I'm probably going to cut it off shorter. But that goes directly to the wastegate. Comes out here. So I'm going to end up doing small stuff on that. But since the car's going to get stripped all the way down to chassis, that'll give me time to, I'm going to go through the transmission, paint the entire transmission, paint the engine again, get every single little thing painted, ready for next year. So we're going to start getting the entire chassis painted, get all of the tabs that it needs for the flat bottom, for everything, get the body to bolt on to the chassis the way that it needs to. I mean, technically right now it's bolted in and it isn't going anywhere, but I'd like to strengthen the whole thing quite a bit more. The chassis is going to get painted. The floorboards, I need to finish off the floorboards. They still have holes where the old roll cage was. So I'm going to patch the floor, get all of that sanded, painted, do all of the dynomat. I'm going to do all the dynomat on the floor, get the carpet kit cut and set up for that. I still have a whole bunch of sewing to do. I got to make a steering wheel cover, get the steering wheel cover on. There's a couple little things that I need to address. The shifter is just a little tiny bit off. So I need to play around with adjustments before I pull the motor out, get all that stuff set. The threads on the actual shift handle are plastic, so it was just one of those super cheap shift knobs. I'm going to end up redoing it anyway, but I need to order a metal bushing that goes in there that screws the whole thing down. That way it stays nice and tight, because right now it's a little bit floppy. And then wiring. We'll get into wiring. I'm going to end up wiring the entire car, get everything as clean as I possibly can. I'm probably going to end up ordering Teflon wire and heat shrinking the entire thing. So basically I'll probably end up making somewhat mil-spec harness with a bulkhead that disconnects the entire engine. So if I ever need to drop the engine, I can just disconnect the bulkhead, drop the engine out, and the whole wiring harness will come with it. So the bug is going to be a huge project this winter. I am planning on doing everything. We'll set the body down, we'll get all of the body work done, start doing the rest of the carbon work, and start doing all that. I'm also going to build a small paint booth on the side of the garage, well, inside this section of the garage. That way I can paint all of the small bits as well as small bits for Ryan's car. That way everything this winter is going to be a big, huge, massive step forward. So stay tuned, and we'll start getting into the bug in this video, and then next video we'll finish off a bunch of stuff on Ryan's car. I went and picked up 5 1/4-inch round stock rods, and then as you can see, rear fender is sitting on the bug, so it's time to make some rear flares. I'm going to have to pull off the exhaust. We'll get that all situated. I'll go through, pull off the rear tire, get the fender set where it needs to. I think I am going to raise up the fender probably another 1/2 inch or so from where the original tubs were. We'll get into the tubs and stuff later after I pull the body off of the cage, but I am going to raise the tubs up further and do a whole bunch of other sheet metal work. I've also been working on getting the door fitted in there correctly, so I'll go through and give a rundown on that as well. But you guys definitely asked for more fender flare stuff. The last fender flare video is up over 10,000 views now. So this one will probably be more of a tutorial style. So we'll start out with those, and we'll start bending up some rods and getting them where we want to go. So let's start making this car look absolutely incredible. It's time for a little explanation on what I'm doing. You can see that I went ahead and foil taped the entire body, and I have actually filled the entire gap all the way up with Bondo glass just to fill it in. Also Bondo glassed this section. I have since sanded it down. Now I'm going to go through with body filler and body fill all that in, get it all nice and smooth. So the reason I did this was there's a big gap here in between the body and the fender. Since the rear fender is raised up so much, it doesn't match up with a stock Volkswagen rear fender. So this will get it to follow the body lines exactly where it needs to be. These rear fenders I am going to make out of fiberglass and eventually probably make them out of carbon fiber. So I want the rear fenders to follow the body line absolutely perfect. And then I'm going to use the Zeus fasteners all the way along the entire fender. That way, pull a couple Zeus clips, the rear fenders come off. I'll probably end up doing the same with the rear apron. But with this being fiberglass, I'm going to run a weather strip along the edge of the fiberglass, so it's not going to have the actual lip that comes down that bolts to the body like a stock bug does. So these are just going to be straight fiberglass pieces with the fender beading in there. Get all that all situated. So all of this stuff I'll get all cleaned up. Back here, I am going to cap that hole, cap off the original bumper holes, all of that. And then back here, I think what I'm going to do is I'll build a plate that plates down, and then the fender will actually come down and mate up with the body right there. And I'll make a carbon fiber close piece here that closes this section in. That way it's makes it nice and clean, because right now this looks terrible. I mean, it's a race car, so it'll pass, you know, looks that way, but I'd rather make it nice and clean. So panel will come down and then cover that section there, which is pretty cool. So we'll get the actual fender good and set where it is. And then I think what I'll end up doing is making the over fender that covers the tire. And I'll get that all fiberglassed into one piece. Well, I'll get the mold of it all fiberglassed. And then we'll probably pop that off and make the rear fender out of fiberglass, and then make the over fender in fiberglass as well. That way it'll actually build up further. So I'm going to pull the fiberglass off of the top of the fender and the top of the actual over fender. That way it gives it probably a 1/4 inch more than what it's going to set as here. So that'll give me a little tiny bit more space, and that way I know that everything's going to clear, everything's going to work out all right. So we'll just continue doing this. I'm going to be doing the driver's side at the same exact time. That way all of it's done all at one time. So I'm only going to film probably the passenger side. That way you guys can see it. The driver's side's a little bit tighter in the garage. There's a little bit more stuff over there. But I'll show you when it's all finished. So, and I'll give you a couple tips on the way of how I am getting the fenders to match. So far so good. Let's go ahead and throw some Bondo on here. We'll patch up that hole, grind down that one, get all that stuff Bondoed and everything. That way it's all set up and ready. So let's just continue on with the fenders. Well, I got the fenders all Bondoed and smoothed out. I still have a few touch-up spots. There's one here. I had a little bit more down here. I am also going to extend this section of the fender back to a little bit more stock. The fender flare was originally going to come down and mate up with that, but I think I have changed my plans on that. So I need to weld in a piece to bring this closer back to stock. So passenger side's looking really good. I am going to fill in this section here, get it all nice and smooth. And then driver side is about the same. I still have to fix this bottom section of the fender, put in a patch right here. And then I had one low spot right here, and then there was a couple pits in these sections here. So I'll sand all that stuff back. I had originally drilled holes in this fender when I was young and dumb. I had made a fiberglass fender to go on it, and it didn't work the way that I thought, but now I am a lot more knowledgeable and know exactly how to do it the correct way this time. So once I finish off this stuff here, then we will probably prime these and fine sand them. That way they're nice and smooth. All right, guys, so that's all I have for you this week. Last couple weeks have been pretty busy still at work. I have been able to get back into the garage a little bit more, get some work done on both cars. The fender flare series on the Bug will proceed. I'm kind of laying down parts on the Bug, and when it dries, I am swapping over to Ryan's car now that the cars are side by side in the garage. And it is getting extremely cold outside. Like right now, it's probably 35 degrees. So extremely cold, trying to keep warm in the garage. I got my heater and all that stuff. So kind of just been hopping back and forth between each car, letting stuff dry, and then finishing some stuff on Ryan's car. So the next episode you guys will see will probably be Ryan's car, and then possibly another Bug video. I want to try and break up the fender flare series into some larger parts. That way it's kind of like this video is the entire fender section. Next video will probably be making the actual flare, and then the video after that will probably be getting into the fiberglass part of the entire series. So a lot of exciting things are going to happen on the Bug here pretty quick. I'm planning on doing a ton of work to it. Ryan's car, we're going to end up getting pretty close with it. I'm probably going to rob some parts off of the Bug, put them on Ryan's car. That way we can get it up and running, and we will order more parts for the Bug once Ryan's car is out of here and everything is all set up and ready to go. So until the next video, we will see you guys. Peace out.